Hi there, Mr. Greer here. We're going to be covering right now Excel Chapter 2, the beginning parts of that chapter. And there's three basic things that we're going to cover in this video. The first one is we're going to learn how to create column headings. The second one is that we're going to learn how to resize the column widths. And third, we're going to learn about the merge and center feature found here in Excel. So let's go ahead and get started right now. I'm going to have this new workbook here to get this started. We're going to be doing the project that starts on page 71 in your Excel book, chapter 2. Go ahead and click on A1. We're going to go ahead and get started, and we're just going to type in what the book's told us to. So you and I should both have the same thing here, the mobile masses store. I'm going to click enter. Takes me down to A2, and here I'm going to type in biweekly payroll report. Great. So now we have a title and a subtitle. And what we're going to do here is we're going to create column headings. And so in the real world, we would probably have to come up with these, but fortunately we're doing this from a textbook, so you and I don't have to come up with that. So what you want to do is look down at the bottom half of the page, and you'll see that in A3, we should type employee. Then I'm going to use the tab key, and I'll explain that to you in a second. But the tab key is very important. Don't use the arrow key, use the tab key. Number 2 is we're going to say the hire date. Tab, and then I'm going to use dependents, use the tab key again, and then we're going to, this is an interesting little part right here, so we're going to type hours, and we actually want to type hours worked, but if I type the word hours and then I hold down the Alt key, which is just to the left of the space bar, and then I hit enter while I'm holding it, you'll see that it's giving me another line, so I can type hours worked, and then I'm going to hit tab again, and I've actually done all of that in the cell. And so instead of having to go find word wrap, if I just use the Alt key and the Enter button, that makes it so I can do that kind of without having to have Excel do it for me. So we have hours worked, and then we're going to do hourly. We're going to use the same command, Alt Enter, and do hourly pay. Then use the tab key again, or I'm sorry, it's pay rate. And then we're going to use the tab key again, and then we're going to put in gross pay, federal tax. Once again, I'm using the tab key to move forward, the state tax, net pay, and the tax percentage. Now I want to show you something. This is the interesting part. Since we've used the tab key, when I press the enter button, it takes me all the way back to the beginning of the line, to the next row. And now if I use the right arrow to go across, and then I hit enter, it takes me straight down. So the tab key, if I go tab, 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 enter, it will take me down, and this is very helpful when you're doing data entry, any kind of data entry. You can use the 10 key and type in a bunch of numbers, and if you're using the tab on one side with your left hand, and then your right hand is doing the data entry, you can just hit enter and go straight to the next bit of information. That makes it very helpful. So our next problem here is that we have some columns that need to be resized, right? And we can do it, I'll show you a couple different ways here. The first one's the easiest, and this is the way I prefer. You just go in between the two columns that you're looking at and just double tap, and it automatically sizes it to the right size to fit everything in that column in. The second way we can do it is we can actually grab, we go right in between, we click and hold, and we can drag that out and back. So we can make that as big or as small as we'd like to. This way is a little more ghetto, I would call it, just because it takes a little effort to get it right. I like using just a double tap to find the exact spot I like to be at. I think that works out rather well. So that's what I would recommend that you do for that. Now the last thing that we're going to talk about in this video is the merge and center feature. And a lot of people use, you know, you and I have talked about ghetto Excel. A lot of people, when they look at this, they say, okay, I need to center this title, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click in here and I'm going to hit the space bar a bunch of times. Alright, I'm going to hit enter, and oh, it's not there. I need to move it over. And maybe what I need to do is copy or cut it and paste it until I get it to the cell. That'll make it look kind of like it's in the middle. Okay, that's kind of in the middle. That's not the right way to do this. And remember, you always want to do things the right way so that they're formatted properly for the future. If you need to change something, they get changed correctly. So what we do in order to use the merge and center feature is we just highlight the cells that we'd like to center something on. So we want to go through from A to J in this instance, and we can just click this button right here in the middle, and it merges and centers all those. So now we have one cell instead of 8 cells, And if I want to undo it, I can just click it again, and undoes it. Now you might ask, Mr. Greer, why can't I just center it? Well, if you click center here, notice what happens. It just centers in the cell. So the merge and center feature is actually something pretty important. It makes everything look good. We can do that same thing. We can just click and drag, highlight these other things here, merge and center. Now we're starting to get something that looks like a report. So in this little video here, what we've talked about is creating column headings, which we did. We did this. We learned about the Alt-Enter button. That was very important. We learned about resizing column widths and the different ways we can do that. And we also learned about the merge and center feature. These are all important tips, and the next video will go over the next part of this project.